In the first Gulf of Sidra incident, the 19th of August 1981, two Libyan Su-22 Fitter fired upon and were subsequently shot down by two American F-14 Tomcats off the Libyan coast. Background: in 1973, Libya claimed the Gulf of Sidra as a closed bay and part of its territorial waters. This prompted the United States to conduct freedom of navigation operations in the area since the claim did not meet the criteria established by international law. Libya often confronted U.S. forces in and near the Gulf, and on two occasions its fighter jets opened fire on U.S. reconnaissance flights off the Libyan coast, once in the spring of 1973 and again in the fall of 1980. Phone operations intensified when Ronald Reagan came to office. In August 1981, he authorized a large naval force led by a pair of aircraft carriers, US Forrestal and US Nimitz, to deploy to the disputed area. The two carriers had embarked a total of 4 interceptor squadrons, VF-74B Devilers and BMFA-115 Silver Eagles, flying F-4 Phantoms from Forrestal, and VF-41 Black Aces and VF-84 Jolly Rogers, flying F-14 Tomcats from Nimitz. The Libyan Air Force responded by deploying a high number of interceptors and fighter bombers. Early on the morning of the 18th of August, when the U.S. exercise began, at least 3 MiG-25 Foxbats approached the U.S. carrier groups, but were escorted away by American interceptors. The Libyans tried to establish the exact location of the U.S. naval force. 35 pairs of MiG-23 floggers, MiG-25s, Sukhoi Su-20 Fitter Cs, Su-22M Fitter Js, and Mirage F-1s flew into the area, and were soon intercepted by 7 pairs of F-14s and F-4s. U.S. naval intelligence later assessed that a MiG-25 may have fired a missile from 18 miles away at U.S. fighter aircraft that day. Incident: on the morning of the 19th of August, after having diverted a number of Libyan mock attacks on the battle group the previous day, two F-14s from VF-41 Black Aces, Fast Eagle 102 and Fast Eagle 107, were flying combat air patrol, ostensibly to cover aircraft engaged in a missile exercise. However, U.S. Navy Commander Thompson S. Sanders wrote in Air and Space that his S-3A Vikings mission was the real precursor to this incident. Sanders was ordered to fly his Viking in a racetrack orbit inside Gaddafi's claimed zone but outside the internationally recognized 12-mile territorial water limit to try to provoke the Libyans to react. An E-2C Hawkeye alerted Thompson that two Sukhoi Su-22 fighters had taken off from Gaddafi Air Base near the city of Sirte. The Hawkeye directed the F-14s to intercept while Thompson dove to an altitude of 500 feet and flew north to evade the Libyan aircraft. An experienced Sanders found stressful because the S-3A was not equipped with a threat warning receiver, nor with any countermeasures. A deficiency later remedied on the S-3B. The two F-14s set up for an intercept as the contacts headed north towards them. Only a few seconds before the crossing, at an estimated distance of 300 meters, one of the Libyans fired an AA-2 atoll at one of the F-14s, which missed. Then the two Sukhois split as they flew past the Americans, the leader turning to the northwest and the wingman turning southeast in the direction of the Libyan coast. The Tomcats evaded the missile and were cleared to return fire by their rules of engagement, which mandated self-defense on the initiation of hostile action. The Tomcats turned hard port and came behind the Libyan jets. The Americans fired AIM-9L sidewinders. The first kill is credited to Fast Eagle 102, the second to Fast Eagle 107. Both Libyan pilots ejected. Prior to the ejections, A U.S. electronic surveillance plane monitoring the event recorded the lead Libyan pilot report to his ground controller that he had fired a missile at one of the U.S. fighters and gave no indication that the missile shot was unintended. The official United States Navy report states that both Libyan pilots ejected and were safely recovered. But in the official audio recording of the incident taken from Musbidal, one of the F-14 pilots states that he saw a Libyan pilot eject, but his parachute failed to open. Less than an hour later, while the Libyans were conducting a search and rescue operation of their downed pilots, two fully armed MiG-25s entered the airspace over the Gulf and headed towards the U.S. carriers at Mach 1.5 and conducted a mock attack in the direction of US Nimitz. Two F-14 Tomcats headed towards the Libyans, which then turned around. The Tomcats turned home, but had to turn around again when the Libyans headed towards the U.S. carriers once more. After being tracked by the F-14's radars, the MiGs finally headed home. One more Libyan formation ventured out into the Gulf towards the U.S. forces later that day. Fast Eagle 102 is presently stored at the Commemorative Air Force Headquarters in Midland, Texas, awaiting restoration. Fast Eagle 107 was destroyed in an accident on 25 October 1994.